Hello, this is Molly Reamer with 30 Days of Goddess in Bridges Grove with this week's Rituals of Returning mini video. And I actually have a lot of resources to draw upon for this one. I am using Earth Runes, I'm using the Goddess Oracle, we have our Herb of the Month card from the Herbcrafter's Tarot, which is the herb deck that I'm using this year, and then we have our Kali Ma Story Goddess Oracle card connected to our theme of Create for February. And so we're going to go ahead and start with the herb card for today. And so our herb for February is cinnamon, which I feel like is appropriate, even like how we've got a skull represented here in this month of Kali, and I feel like cinnamon is an appropriate herb for the month, kind of fiery, warming, inspiring, nourishing. And so as we see Kali here dancing with rage and frustration and creation and renewal, we can call upon this energy of cinnamon, this warming, fiery, nourishing, inspiring, insightful herb to help fuel us in this month. So you may consider practices like drinking tea with cinnamon. I actually like just plain green tea with regular household cinnamon sprinkled on top of the green tea. I like cinnamon on top of my dandelion coconut ticino tea type drink as well, which is a dandelion and chicory blend. And I like cinnamon on top of that. I like cinnamon in apple cider, and I like cinnamon in cooking. So cinnamon has a lot of applications. You may also wish to burn a little pinch of cinnamon as a practice to make an offering. You can offer some cinnamon outside and make an offering to Kali or to the forces of creation. And so let's check in with what Joanna Powell Colbert and Letitia Guthrie have to say about the cinnamon card. And so what they connect it to the ancestors, the ancients, suggesting that this card inspires us to answer the call of the ancients, to seek vision from the ancestors, and to take a stand for your whole authentic self. So very small on the card, there's the image of Ixchel, the Mayan goddess, and there's also a sunstone on the table. I didn't see the sunstone, I saw Ixchel, but and then there's a rosary draped over a book of the healing arts. Cinnamon has been crushed for tea, and it now boils on the wood stove. And so anyway, they say ancestral traditions remind us of who we are. Your personal power has roots in your own cultural heritage. When you hear a call from the ancients, start with a study of your bloodlines. Learn the history, take the medicine, and eat the food of your people. As cinnamon found its way around the globe on the Silk Road, allow yourself to be taken on a journey by your ancestors. And I'm just going to briefly say, I come from the perspective that you can have heart ancestors as well as bone ancestors. I also think you can have ancestors of stone. You can have ancestors of stone and ancestors of bone. You can have land ancestors as well. So your own ancestors, there's important lineage there, and there's important things to consider, but there's also sometimes a lot of pain and scarring in the ancestral lineage, and you can draw upon heart ancestors, tradition ancestors, soul ancestors, teachers that you have had can be intellectual ancestors or ideological ancestors or artistic ancestors, and then also those ancestors of land, those ancestors of stone. And so anyway, not saying don't go on a journey with your own ancestors, but remember that ancestry can be very holistic way of looking at all the influences that have shaped you and changed you and affected you. Okay, so devotion to divine beings will deepen your connection, collect imagery and stories, make altars and offerings. As I already said, you might offer some cinnamon. You can ingest the cinnamon and you can offer the cinnamon. Take pride in where you come from, stand up for who you are, claim your sovereign path. Your foremothers will give you direction. Cinnamon is a strong and spicy remedy. Be assertive and bold in the expression of your true self. So the practices: study your bloodlines, invite your ancestors to a fireside council, share a warming tea tea and ask for guidance, and boost your day with firepower. Use extra cinnamon in your breakfast. So I love the idea of ingesting something that reminds you of your own fire, your own power. And so Kali really reminds us of our own fire and our own power, and inspires our own fire and our own power. But actually, having the cinnamon in is a physically embodied way of ingesting that power. And I forgot, I eat cinnamon almost every day on my oatmeal. Sounds a little boring and basic, but I love my oatmeal, my morning oatmeal. I eat it with cinnamon, brown sugar, pecans, and chocolate chips, and it's just about the tastiest thing ever. So think about how you might ingest those qualities while also invoking them. And so we're going to hop on over to our Earth Runes card now. This is the card of community. I think this one is absolutely essential for right now. We do not create in a vacuum. We do not create in a vacuum. This is a rune of celebration and cooperation, of community, of interdependence, of trust, of co-creation, of support, of creation, of building, of sustaining, of growing, of friendships, and of resources shared and built. We have to remember, especially in the current political climate, we have to remember to reach out to one another. We have to remember to support one another. Community care is incredibly valuable and incredibly essential component of personal practice and of devotional practice. And now our Kali card from the Goddess Oracle. So you can see how Kali is a fairly fearsome goddess. She is unapologetically herself. She is not afraid to rage, to destroy, to dance on the bones. And so let's see what the author of this book, this is Amy Sophia Mirashinsky's Goddess Oracle. I really enjoy it. And so anyway, as we shared before, Kali is the Hindu triple goddess of creation, preservation, and destruction. And she's the animating force of Shiva, the destroyer, the lord of the dance. She is the insatiable hunger of time that births and then devours. So skulls, cemeteries, and blood are all associated with her. Kali's energy is uncontrollable. And so, as far as how she applies to your own life, as we already spoke about in 30 Days of Goddesses practice video for February, she really encourages you to consider or to dance with your own rage, your own outrage, your own anger. And so, according to this book, Kali has begun to dance in your life to tell you it is time to face your fears. All that is lurking ominously, either buried deep in your inner darkness or close by, needs to be stared in the eye and brought into the light. So the end of her little poem in this book is, will you face all of the horror, all of the pain, all of the sorrow, and say yes? Will you face all of those things and say yes? So if you're part of my Goddess Magic community on Patreon, you've heard me talking about saying yes to your own life, of being here to be here, of facing the things that are going on in the country right now that outrage us, that terrify us, that make us afraid, and recognizing that we're here, and that's our power, that's our resistance. We're here to be here, saying yes to our own lives. So I am all that you dread, all that terrifies. I am your fears. Will you meet me? Will you meet me? So then she asks, are your fears serving you by possibly warning you about dangerous places, things, or people? Are your fears actually like an alert in your life? Or do your fears prevent you from dancing your dance, living your life, and creating with creation? Kali comes to tell you that your dance is needed as part of the whole dance of creation. And that's what I've been getting at, is that the powers that be want you to feel afraid and powerless. They want you to feel helpless and like you can't do anything. And so refusing to buy into that narrative of powerlessness is how you resist. That's an act of resistance, to refuse the story of powerlessness. To refuse the story of powerlessness is an act of resistance. So you are needed as part of the whole dance of creation. Wholeness is nurtured when you reclaim the pieces of yourself that you've given over to fear. Most fears are formless. By naming and witnessing the fear, you gain power. Wholeness is created when you learn to acknowledge your fears and walk through them. And then also, along with this community card, it's also when you confront the fears and when you take action to change them, when you take action to change change them, because we can't ignore the fact that that rights are being trampled on, and people are being overlooked and attempted to be erased by the government. And so we can't look away from those elements of community care that need our attention and our action as well. So wholeness is created when you acknowledge your fears and walk through them. So one of the practices that I suggest in our Year of Goddess Magic book for this month is to burn your fears in a Kali pot. I have a little bean pot that I got at an antique store a long time ago that I use as my Kali pot to burn things. And but you can use anything, of course, obviously practicing fire safety and having a fireproof surface, etc., but burn your fears up in a Kali pot is a possible practice for this week or this month. And now closing with our Kali card from the Story Goddess Oracle and her little ritual on the back. So again, the word is create. An affirmation here is I create my life with joy. I create my life with intention. I create my life with clarity. I create my life with trust. And then let's see what else we put in here. So I've got a couple of little cards in here. We're going to go ahead and go with this one. Let us heed the yearning, the persistent and insistent tug to what we know is possible. Let us reclaim and recall our power to choose, to create our lives with liberation at the center and purpose as our guide. Liberation at the center and purpose as our guide. And then Kali's little poem. Listen, I slice through illusion, I dance with rage and love, whirling the world into being. So may you dance with both love and rage. May you create the life you wish to see. May you whirl the world into being. May you allow yourself to feel the full range of your feelings. May you tend to your community. May you resist the narrative of powerlessness and stand up. Keep standing up. Keep holding your strand in the web. And may you be inspired by the warmth of cinnamon and the wisdom of the ancestors as you move through this month. Thank you so much for being here. Keep living your magic. Bye-bye.